you, like, break your arm, an X-ray gives you this perfectly binary answer.
Oh, yeah, completely. It's either broken or it's not.
Exactly. It's basic engineering. The doctor points to this jagged white line on a black screen and says, there it is.
Right.
But what happens when the injury is invisible? Like when the primary symptom is just you staring at a burning inbox with a racing heart and a tight jaw.
Well, I mean, the medical model falls apart a bit there. We crave visibility, right?
Yeah.
We want to categorize the pain. But the landscape of psychological stress it's remarkably murky.
It really is. Which is why we are looking at stress today.
Yeah.
But we aren't here to just, validate your overwhelm or offer generic platitudes about taking a deep breath.
No, definitely not.
Our mission in this deep dive is to look at a highly practical, 11-step, science-backed toolkit for actually biohacking your stress response.
I love that phrase, biohacking.
Right. We're drawing heavily on the practical frameworks developed by Leon Thuman. But before we get to those 11 tools, I feel like we have to look at the massive paradigm shift that grounds all of this.
Yeah, we have to start there. So the foundational theory here comes from researchers Lazarus and Folkman back in 1984.
Okay.
They introduced what they called the transactional model of stress and coping. Before this, the prevailing thought was that stress was just a stimulus applied to a person.
Like something bad happens, therefore you are stressed.
Exactly. But Lazarus and Folkman proved that stress is not a one-way street at all. It's a transaction.
So it's not just the external event.
Far from it. The model breaks it down into two appraisals.
Okay.
The primary appraisal is you looking at a situation and asking, is this a threat?
Right.
And then the secondary appraisal, and this is really where the magic happens, is you asking, do I have the resources to handle this threat?
I see.
So stress only actually occurs when your perceived threat outweighs your perceived resources.
Okay, let's unpack this with an analogy for everyone listening.
Sure.
So stress is like looking at a ridiculously steep hill on a cycling route, right?
Yeah,
Good example. The hill itself isn't the stressor. I mean, the hill is just an incline of dirt and asphalt.
It's just a hill.
Right. The stress comes from looking at that steep incline, so your primary appraisal, and then doing a quick inventory of your bike and realizing, oh no, I don't have the gears to climb it.
Exactly. It's the gap between the challenge and what you believe your hardware can handle.
Right.
And that gap is exactly where the feeling of being overwhelmed lives.
Yeah, that makes so much sense.
And while we can't flatten every hill in your life, we can absolutely upgrade your gears.
I love that.
We can modify your secondary appraisal by giving you tools that restore your psychological and physiological energy. That is what these 11 strategies do.
So let's look at how they tackle the stress cycle. Starting from, like, the very first moment your body goes into alarm mode.
Yeah, the immediate reaction.
Right. Because when a stressful event happens, the body reacts a fraction of a second before the conscious mind even does.
Oh, way before.
Your heart rate spikes, your pupils dilate, your muscles tighten, before we can even begin to think logically about the hill.
We have to interrupt that physiological tension.
Exactly. And the source document gives us a surprisingly simple first tool, which is intentional smiling.
Yeah.
Specifically, holding a gentle smile for about 30 seconds.
The underlying mechanism here is tied to the facial feedback hypothesis.
Okay, what is that?
Well, it's not just about expressing an emotion. The physical act of moving your facial muscles actually initiates a corresponding physiological response in the brain.
Wait, I have to push back here a little bit.
Go for it.
Just forcing a smile? Doesn't that sort of border on toxic positivity?
I hear that a lot, yeah.
I mean, if I'm stressed because my company's doing layoffs, the absolute last thing I want to do is sit at my desk and pretend I'm happy about it. It feels a bit like denial.
Right, and if it were about pretending to be happy, it would totally be toxic positivity.
Okay.
But the text is clear on this. Coping with stress never means denying the difficulty of reality.
Right.
You are not smiling at the layoffs. You are engaging the zygomaticus major muscle in your face as a purely mechanical action.
Mechanical.
Yeah. When you are stressed, your trigeminal nerve is basically signaling your brain to lock up your jaw and tense your face, like you're preparing for an attack.
Literally bracing for impact.
Exactly.
Right.
So when you intentionally hold a smile, you force a reverse signal back to the amygdala.
Ah, okay. So I'm hacking the tension loop.
You are.
I'm using the muscles in my face to force my nervous system to drop its guard.
Bye.
But what 30 seconds? Why not just like a quick smile?
Because it takes time for your brain to recognize the sustained muscle contraction.
The actual physical hold.
Yeah, and then it has to release the corresponding neuropeptides, things like dopamine and serotonin.
Yeah.
A fleeting smile just won't cross the threshold required to act as a physiological circuit breaker. You have to hold it long enough for the chemistry to change.
That is fascinating. Okay, and once we've stripped that circuit breaker, that leads us into the second physical hack, which is relaxation breathing.
Right.
The document breaks it down into 3 distinct beats. So it's breathe in gently, pause briefly, and exhale slowly.
And that focus on the slow exhale is the really critical piece of the biology here.
Why the exhale?
Well, when you inhale, your heart rate naturally speeds up a tiny bit.
Right?
But when you exhale, it slows down. By consciously expending the exhale, you are stimulating the vagus nerve.
Okay.
And that acts as the main braking system for your autonomic nervous system.
It's that pause before the exhale that always gets me, honestly.
Yeah.
It feels like taking back control for just a millisecond.
Totally. The pause prevents hyperventilation, but that slow release, it actually alters the pressure in your thoracic cavity.
Oh, really?
Yeah, your blood vessels have these tiny sensors called baroreceptors.
The baroreceptor.
Yep. And when you exhale slowly, they detect that change in pressure and signal the brain to lower your blood pressure and decrease your heart rate.
Wow.
You are literally turning off the physical machinery of panic.
So, okay, we've interrupted the tension with a 30-second intentional smile, and we've calmed the cardiovascular system with vagal breathing.
Right.
But let's be real. Even if my heart rate drops, my mind is usually still racing. You know,
Of course.
I'm still obsessing over the deadline.
Huh.
My brain is like a predictive text algorithm that just keeps defaulting to worst-case scenarios.
Yeah, the body is calm, but the cognitive loop is just still running.
Exactly.
That brings us to the third tool, which is mental rehearsal.
Mental rehearsal. Okay.
This is the practice of actively visualizing a calm response.
So picturing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You picture yourself handling the upcoming stressor with patience, confidence, self-control.
You know, it's exactly like an Olympic downhill skier visualizing the course before the starting gun.
Yes. Perfect analogy. Like, they see every turn, every gate, perfectly executed. But instead of a gold medal race, I'm just visualizing myself, like not losing my cool during a highly confrontational budget meeting.
Which can feel like the Olympics, honestly.
It really can.
But the neuroscience behind this is rooted in neuroplasticity and Hebb's law.
Remind me what Hebb's law is.
It's the idea that neurons that fire together wire together.
Oh, right.
The brain actually struggles to distinguish between an intensely imagined action and a physical reality.
Wait, really? Just imagining it.
Yes. By preloading the scenario into your prefrontal cortex, you are carving out a neural pathway for a calm choice.
Okay.
So when the stressful moment arrives, your brain doesn't have to invent a new response on the fly. It just follows the pathway you already built.
So you are preparing to respond rather than just relying on a primitive reaction.
Exactly.
I love that distinction. A reaction is automatic, right? But a response is a deliberate choice?
Well said. But okay, what if the meeting is already happening? Like the emotions are spiking, someone just insulted your work, and the intensity is way too high for a quick visualization exercise in your chair.
Yeah, you can't just close your eyes and visualize in the middle of a fight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the document gives us 2 more cognitive strategies for this exact moment.
Right.
Making a timeout and spending time outdoors.
So strategies 4 and 6 deal with the concept of sensory decoupling.
Sensory decoupling.
When a situation is highly charged, your brain's cognitive load just maxes out.
Yeah.
A timeout, stepping away for some calming music, finding a moment of humor, or just sitting in silence, it reduces what psychologists call allostatic load.
Okay.
It stops the flood of incoming stimuli so your brain can actually process the backlog of emotion.
And strategy 6 takes that a step further by getting outside, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It notes that fresh air and contact with nature clear the mind.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've all experienced that feeling of being like trapped in an office obsessing over a problem.
Oh, totally.
And the moment you step onto the sidewalk, the problem suddenly feels smaller.
Well, the mechanism there is super fascinating.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. When you are stressed, your vision literally narrows.
Wait, literally?
Yes. Your pupils dilate to focus on a central threat. It's a localized tunnel vision state.
Huh.
But when you step outside into nature, you experience something called optic flow.
Optic flow.
Your peripheral vision broadens to take in the horizon, the trees, the sky. Expanding your visual field neurologically downregulates the stress response.
Because you can see there's no immediate danger.
Exactly. You are signaling to your brain that the immediate environment is open and safe.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Expanding the visual field expands the psychological perspective.
Yeah.
But I feel like all of these mental shifts, the visualizing, the sensory decoupling, the optic flow, they require a brain that is functioning properly.
Oh, 100%.
Like if your biological hardware is failing, you aren't going to be able to execute these cognitive tools at all.
Which brings up the foundation of resilience. The document highlights strategies 8 and 9, which are eating nutritiously and getting enough sleep.
Yes.
And it explicitly notes how stress fundamentally disrupts healthy eating habits.
Which is such a painful irony, right?
How so?
Well, usually food and sleep are the very first casualties of a stressful week.
That is so true.
We get overwhelmed, so we skip lunch, we drink 3 extra coffees, we eat something processed out of a wrapper at like 4 in the afternoon.
Guilty.
Right. And then we stay up until 2 in the morning doom scrolling.
And by doing that, we are literally dismantling our own armor.
Wow. Yeah.
When cortisol, the primary stress hormone, floods your system, it demands fast energy to deal with the perceived threat.
So that's the sugar craving.
That's why you crave simple sugars and processed carbs when you are anxious. Yeah.
Right.
But that causes a massive spike in blood glucose, followed immediately by an insulin dump, which crashes your blood sugar.
And when your blood sugar crashes, your prefrontal cortex, basically the logical regulating part of your brain, it just goes offline.
Precisely. You cannot emotionally regulate without cellular energy.
Okay.
The text emphasizes balanced meals and adequate protein because protein breaks down slowly. It provides a stable, sustained release of glucose.
Which keeps the lights on.
It keeps the prefrontal cortex powered up so you maintain emotional stability.
And sleep is the other half of that biological foundation. I mean, the research calls it essential for clearer thinking, emotional regulation, and physical recovery.
The neurobiology of sleep during high stress is incredible.
Tell me about it.
So during deep sleep, the brain's glymphatic system literally flushes out metabolic waste that builds up during the day.
Like a dishwasher.
Like a dishwasher for your brain. But more importantly, during REM sleep, the dreaming phase, your brain processes the emotional memories of the day.
Okay.
And it does it in a neurochemical environment that is completely stripped of noradrenaline.
Wait, what is noradrenaline?
It's the anxiety chemical.
So REM sleep acts as like overnight emotional therapy. It's taking the sting out of the memory.
It separates the emotion from the event.
Wow.
If you strip away sleep, you keep the noradrenaline active. The next day, your amygdala remains hyperreactive.
You're just red.
You literally cannot think your way out of a stressful problem if your brain hasn't had the biological opportunity to wash away yesterday's anxiety.
That is profound.
Yeah.
And that connects directly to strategy 5, which is exercise.
Right.
But the beauty of this strategy is that it doesn't require, like, a grueling marathon.
Mm-hmm.
The document points out that walking, stretching, climbing some stairs, or doing a short workout restores energy and focus.
Yeah, we have to view exercise here not as fitness, but as metabolizing stress chemistry.
Metabolizing.
Right, because when you experience a stressor, your body prepares for a physical altercation.
Fight or flight.
The fight or flight response dumps adrenaline into your bloodstream. If you just sit in your ergonomic desk chair and type an angry email,
Which we all do.
all that chemical energy has nowhere to go. It stagnates and turns into muscular tension, panic, and anxiety.
You're just kind of marinating in your own adrenaline.
Exactly. Taking a brisk 5-minute walk or even just climbing a few flights of stairs, it allows your muscles to utilize that glucose and adrenaline.
So it burns it off.
Yeah, it signals to the primitive parts of your brain that you have successfully fled the tiger.
I survived.
Exactly. You are completing the biological stress cycle, allowing the body to naturally return to a baseline state of calm.
Okay, so let's recap here. We've interrupted the initial panic with a smile and vagal breathing.
Check.
We've shifted our headspace with neuroplastic visualization and optic flow outdoors.
Yep.
And we've sortified the biological hardware by stabilizing our glucose, prioritizing REM sleep, and metabolizing the adrenaline through movement.
Which is a huge toolkit already.
It is. We've handled the body and the mind. But human beings are meaning-making creatures. We have a deep need for emotional processing and connection.
We need expressive outlets. And I find strategy 10 particularly brilliant because of how incredibly simple it is.
Singing.
Singing.
I have to admit, I didn't expect car karaoke to be a scientifically documented coping mechanism.
Most people don't.
But the text notes that singing lifts the spirit, provides genuine emotional release, and reconnects us with joy and creativity.
It is surprisingly effective, and it's mechanically different from just listening to music.
How so?
Active vocalization, actually singing, engages the larynx.
Okay.
The vocal cords are heavily innervated by the vagus nerve.
Oh, back to the vagus
Yeah,
nerve.
exactly. When you sing, you are forcing yourself into a pattern of prolonged, controlled exhales.
Like the breathing exercise.
Which, as we discussed earlier, immediately triggers the parasympathetic nervous system. It synchronizes your heart rate variability.
So it's physically impossible to obsess over a terrifying spreadsheet while you are, like, belting out an upbeat song at the top of your lungs on your commute home.
Pretty much.
You are physically forcing joy into a neurological space that was previously hijacked by anxiety.
It's an active physiological displacement of the stressor.
Wow.
And the text moves from that physical release into even deeper expressive tools with strategies 7 and 11.
Right.
Strategy 7 is prayer. For those who practice it, prayer creates an inner space for reflection, surrender, and renewed strength.
It seems like it's addressing the secondary appraisal from the Lazarus and Folkman model we started with.
How do you mean?
You know, the part where we evaluate our resources.
Yes.
The document notes that prayer helps us place our concerns within a larger perspective.
In psychological terms, it expands your locus of control.
Okay.
Stress often comes from a desperate attempt to control an uncontrollable situation.
No, absolutely.
Prayer, or deep spiritual reflection, is the deliberate act of relinquishing the illusion of omnipotence.
Letting it go.
It is acknowledging that you do not have to carry the entire weight of the outcome on your own shoulders. Finding peace in the limits of your own control is a profound stress reducer.
And that concept of releasing the burden ties seamlessly into Strategy 11, which is sharing your feelings.
Yes.
Like talking with a trusted friend or writing your thoughts down in a journal. The document literally says, naming what you feel often reduces its intensity and brings greater clarity.
Which is so true.
When a fear is just swirling around in your head, it feels like this massive, formless storm cloud, you know?
The transition from a formless storm cloud to a tangible problem is called affect labeling.
Affect labeling.
Brain imaging studies show that when you experience raw stress, your amygdala is heavily activated.
The fear center.
Right. But the moment you assign a word to that feeling, the moment you speak it to a friend or write it on a page, the neural activity actually shifts.
It moves.
It moves out of the amygdala and into the right ventrolateral prefrontal cortex.
Which does what?
That's the region that handles logic, language, and emotional regulation.
Wait, so by naming the feeling, you are literally changing the region of the brain that is processing the event.
Yes. Language tames the emotion. It's no longer a terrifying existential threat. It becomes a specific challenge that has boundaries.
You've forced the anxiety to take a concrete shape.
Which makes solvable.
So when we zoom out and look at all 11 of these strategies,
Yeah.
from the 30-second mechanical smile to the protein-heavy lunch, to affect labeling in a journal, a very clear, empowering philosophy emerges from Leanne Thymon's work.
It really does.
Coping with stress never means pretending things are easy.
Never.
The hill is still incredibly steep. The layoffs might still happen. The inbox is still overflowing.
The environment hasn't changed, but your capacity to navigate it has.
Yes.
The core message is about reclaiming agency.
Right.
These aren't massive life overhauls that require weeks of therapy or a sabbatical in the woods.
Right. They're accessible.
They are small, targeted biological and psychological acts of self-care. And those small acts are exactly what shift you out of paralysis and move you into a state where you are grounded, resourced, and capable.
Which brings us right back to that X-ray machine we talked about at the beginning.
The invisible injury.
You can't put a picture of your stress on a light board, but the hill in front of you is incredibly real, and the overwhelm you feel looking at it is completely valid.
Absolutely.
But you aren't stuck with a single speed bike.
No, you're not.
You can hack the trigeminal nerve. You can stimulate the vagus nerve. You can metabolize the cortisol.
You can choose to upgrade your gears.
The stressor is the hill. The stress is just how you evaluate your gear.
Well said.
I want to leave you, our listener, with a final thought to ponder as you go about your week. Building right off of Strategy 11, that affect labeling.
Okay.
The research is clear: naming a feeling, moves the processing into the logical part of your brain and reduces its intensity. So what happens if you actively work to expand your emotional vocabulary?
Oh, I like where this is going.
Psychologists call this emotional granularity. If you can pinpoint the exact nuance of your stress, like if you can identify that you are feeling marginalized by a coworker versus simply overextended by a project, rather than just using the blanket statement, I'm stressed, do you inherently increase your power to defeat it?
That's a great question.
Does the ultimate weapon against an overwhelming world turn out to be a highly specific vocabulary? Just something to think about the next time you find yourself staring up at a steep hill.